let's just let the little man out, eh? We'll let the boss out and we'll go kick this fire in the guts, eh? Come on, little dude. Come on, let's go get this fire going. You cheeky little devils, you snuck up on me this morning. So welcome back to another episode of Go and Walk About with Uncle Benny. I got these fire starters here. So we're going to kick the fire in the guts this morning. And we'll get that billy on the boil, eh? Righto guys, now we got the fire cranking on up. How about we zip on back and I'll show you what we cooked up last night for dinner. After all, that's what this episode's all about. Campfire cook-ups and spinning a yarn about the old Burke and Wills exploration. So let's zip on back while we wait to get this billy on the boil. Righto. We've got the fire cranking on up, guys. We've got ourselves a spectacular view. So we're going to whip ourselves up some tucker tonight. Now I'm going to do something a little bit different to seafood. Show you we don't have to cook up the seafood every single night. We're just going to whip ourselves up some tacos with some beef mince, some tacos, onion, got some crushed tomatoes. And these are chickpeas. I think they've been in the back of the troopy since 1994. We're going to dust the top of that off and throw that in there too, just to fill her on up a bit, eh? These taco shells, not too sure what I'm going to do with them. Whether I'm going to be a civilised human being and use the cob grill, or just throw them on the coals there, under the skillet once it's all cooked up. We'll even whack a little bit of Who's Your Sister sauce in there, eh? So let's whip all this together and I'll catch you when we're eating, eh? Now, as you probably already guessed, guys, if this isn't your first episode, we're going to be a bit grubby and we're going to be a Neanderthal. We're just going to throw that on the coals there. How long it's going to take, your guess is as good as mine. We'll flip her on over and I'll catch you when we load that taco on up, eh? Fair dinkum, would you have a go at that? We're going to kick back and enjoy this view, taking the campfire, guys. And how about tomorrow, we spin a bit of a yarn about the tragic Burke and Wills exploration, eh? But before we get to that, you better go check that billy if you want a coffee early this morning. Well, you heard the man. We better check this billy, eh? Oh, shit, firing. So if you enjoy yourself a campfire, guys, and a bit of a cook-up, stay tuned because there's more coming your way. So while I get this old noodle canoodling, get them few brain cells I got left firing like that pit over there, how about I sit down, take in this beautiful view, and I'll check back in later to spin that yarn about Burke and Wills. Now before our tale of exploration, guys, how's about we go for a little bit of a mosey along the riverbank there with our furry little friend over here having a nap, flick a few lures, and I'll really set the scene for you guys. So come on, let's get strolling. Come on, bud. The year was 1860, a time before the telecommunication device, a time even before the automobile. Now if you think your grandparents are old, the 1860s make them look like a spring chicken. With a rapidly growing population due to the current gold rush, guys, it became apparent that they needed to find new pastures to graze livestock. Now you got to remember, at this time most of Australia was uncharted. So they couldn't just go pushing the livestock out west, up north, willy-nilly, not knowing what they were moving into. So that's where Burke and Wills come in, guys. They were the first explorers to go from south to north and chart the area, making it possible for farmers to push out that way, increasing their number of herd to keep up with the supply and demand of the ever-increasing population. So let's get back to camp and see how our fire's going, eh? Now imagine moseying on through the harsh terrain of the Australian outback, armed only with your compass and knowledge of the bush. This here was just everyday life for the men back in 1860. So while you take a moment to really ponder on how hard this seemingly impossible task was, we're going to whack this damper over here on the coals and have ourselves a bit of lunch, eh? And how about we check back in tonight while we throw on the camp oven and spin a bit of a yarn about the rest of this story. Would you have a bloody go at that, eh? Damper on the coal. Don't get any better than that. Righto guys, we got our spadator and our sweet spadator all diced up. So let's slap her on in the camp oven here. Three-second rule. Get on in there. Give it a bit more oil. Now we'll give those spadators a few minutes to crisp on up. We'll flip them, throw some onions in there, let it crisp up a little bit more. And then we'll whack in some cocoa nut cream, curry powder, chili flakes. And we'll even throw a bit of rice in there, and we'll get the barramundi out the fridge and we'll dice it all on up, eh guys? Slip it on in there at the end. Now, if you're only just hearing about the Burke and Wills expedition today, You would be forgiven for assuming that this extraordinary feat was accomplished by only 2 men. On the 20th of August 1860, 19 men, 23 horses and 28 camels set out on what was then known as the Victorian Exploration Expedition, which we now know today as the Burke and Wills expedition, due to their untimely tragic end on an expedition to help the people. They went down in Australian folklore as heroes. Burke was first in command. Wills, originally third in command, quickly rising through the ranks on October 16th when James resigned. Wills becomes second in command. Fair dinkum, guys. These men endured hardships that you and I couldn't even comprehend. The expedition, it got off to a very rough start. The heavy wagons were bogging down in what was a wet, miserable winter, forcing the men to abandon many of their supplies, which ultimately, in the long run, led to Burke having to split the team up on 2 separate occasions. The first of which was at Menindee on the 19th of October 1860. The men left the bulk of their heavy supplies with a local man, William Wright, before making their way further towards Cooper Creek with a smaller party. Upon arriving at Cooper Creek on the 16th of December, the party was split yet again. The plan this time to make a mad dash for the Gulf. Burke took himself, Wills and 2 other blokes with him. And now we just wait for the liquids to come to the boil and we'll add the rice and fish, eh? As the men pushed forward through the harsh, boggy environment, they reached Camp 119, approximately 30 k's out of what's known as Normanton today. You saw this camp on last week's episode. If you haven't seen last week's episode, shoot back and take a gander. Not yet, you cheeky bugger, when this is done. Anyways, at the Camp 119, the men had a decision to make. Do they head back with empty hands, or do they make one last dash for the Gulf? Burke and Wills, they just couldn't leave empty-handed. They had to make that one last dash. So they left the other 2 blokes back at camp to look after the camels because they couldn't push through the boggy terrain anymore. Now that liquid's come to the boil, guys, we got our fish all diced up nicely. We'll whack that on in there. Whack about that much rice in there. As the men pushed through that brutal terrain, reaching the Gulf on the 10th of February 1861. It was a bit of a bittersweet moment for the men. They made it. They made their destination, but they couldn't see the open ocean. The view was just engulfed by the thick mangrove forest surrounding the area, but they made it. With supplies dwindling, they had to make the mad dash back south. They couldn't stick around like a stunned mullet. Unfortunately, both Burke and Wills met their tragic end on their expedition back home, both dying around the 28th of June 1861 of starvation and exhaustion around the Cooper Creek area. This cemented them their place in Australian folklore forever. The sole survivor, John King, who was taken in by an indigenous community of the area at the time. Now let's see how this fish curry's going. The old schnozzer's telling me I think she's ready. Let's duck in. Fair dinkum, would you have a go at that? I do wish we had sniffer vision, because this smells like it's going to be a party in my mouth with every bite. Now if you've enjoyed what you've seen today with today's cook up so far, stay tuned, because there's at least one more on the way. We're going to kick back here and enjoy this fire, take in this beautiful view, and I'll catch up with you guys tomorrow as we etch our way towards Burketown. Sensational. Fair dinkum, if you're planning yourself a trip around Australia and tossing up between the idea whether to lug the old boat along for the ride, 10 out of 10 can recommend, because when you're not getting that prop wet, she doubles up as a trailer. How bloody good's that? Good for hauling all that firewood. So let's get moving to the next spot, eh? We better mosey along. We only made it an hour down the road yesterday. If we're lucky, we might make it another hour today. What do you reckon, boyo? Get moving or what? It seems as though we've stumbled across the section of the Savannah Way where the black top ends, guys. The corrugations begin. So we'll get our tough terrain tyre deflators out. We're going to set them to around 28 psi, because in old Betty Lou, she's a 1994 model. She's all leaf sprung, so she's a bit of a rough ride. And we'll let them down to 28 just to give it a bit of a cushion. And while we're letting the tyres down, wouldn't pay to go around and check our wheel nuts. So like we went around and checked all them wheel nuts. On the old trailer there was a few nuts a bit loose, a bit like the screws in old Uncle Benny's head. So let's start moseying on forward and see if we can't find ourselves a free camp somewhere. Leichhardt Falls sounds like a good a place as any. Oh, and like I said, it's only an hour down the road from where we left this morning. We got all the time in the world. What you thinking, boyo? Leichhardt Falls? Leichhardt Falls it is. I'll catch us over there. G'day, g'day, g'day. welcome to the second bush kitchen of the episode. Today we've found ourselves at Leichhardt Falls. Have a gander at this cracker of a view, guys. Isn't it just spectacular? Tonight we were going to cook ourselves up a lamb stew. Unfortunately, I've got myself a bit of bad news and I don't really feel like cooking up a stew tonight. So we'll cook up something a little bit more simple, and when I feel like spinning a bit more of a yarn tomorrow, we'll cook that stew up, eh? So come for a walk with me and I'll show you what we're doing tonight. Tonight we're just going to whip ourselves up an Aussie favourite, bangers and mash. If you don't know what I'm talking about, sausages, mashed potato and gravy. Doesn't get much better than that, guys. We've whisked up our gravy in the cup over here. Snazzy little Uncle Benny cup, that is. Got some minced garlic to go in with the snags. And we've diced up our spadader, and we've got a onion nicely sliced over here. So how about we get our spadader on the boil, and then we'll head over and get these snags on, eh? So how about I take you for a look around this beautiful area while we wait for these snags, eh? And here we have what I can only assume is the remains of an old water pump of some description. Hey, fair dinkum, the things you find, eh? Hey, nice little rat here at Leichhardt Falls. In you go, young fella. Where's your mama at? Woo! Don't know if you guys can see that, but she is a smoky one tonight. Anyone would think this is an episode of bloody Cheech and Chong. Righto, we've got a bit of crisp on those snags, so let's get the gravy on in there, eh? I think the old schnozzer is saying she's ready, guys. So we'll take this off the coals and set it off to the side here. Let's mosey on over here and see what the schnozzer says about the spadadas. Oh, would you have a gander at that? These spadadas are ready for the mashing. We'll turn them off, eh? Now we ain't got no milk, so we're just going to suffice with a little bit of mayonnaise and some margarine over here. Now we've whisked up the gravy with this fork. We're going to mash up the spadata with this fork. The Swiss Army knife of the culinary world, the fork. And just like that, guys, bangers and mash by the campfire. Doesn't get any easier than that. A meal that takes me back to the 90s. Sitting around the bowls club having a meal with your grandparents. So while I sit back here, kick back and reminisce a little bit, maybe tomorrow we'll go for a stroll along the riverbank there and flick a few more lures and do that stew cook up, eh? So stay tuned. Fair dinkum. Would you have a go at that view? Doesn't get much better than that, does it? Hey, you might have noticed another Jaffa lion has appeared in the camp kitchen, thanks to a nice young fella this morning. A good gesture sometimes goes further than you think, mate. Thank you very much. Righto, we've got the camp oven over here just preheating, so let's mosey on over here and see what we've got going on tonight, eh? Righto, guys. We got our lamb over here. She's been marinating in a bit of oil and an array of herbs and spices. Over here we've got our gravy ox that we're going to whip on up later. And then over here, believe it or not, we've got ourselves some vegetables. We're going to prepare them later on. We've even got extra peas and carrot. I forgot to put them in the curry. Bloody knucklehead I am. So at the moment, how about we get this onion, take our meat and go put it in the camp oven, eh? Come on over. Oh, she was fiery, wasn't she? Think I had that old camp up and a wee bit too hot. We put some liquids on in there, she set it on down, so we'll get that lid back on, eh? Now, if it looks like I'm shitting razor blades, it's because I am. What I got to tell you isn't very easy to say. Unlike our heroes we mentioned earlier this episode, this next hero, he won't go down in Australian folklore, but he will be remembered every day by myself. Earlier this week we had to say goodbye to my grandfather, who was not only my grandfather, but my very first fishing buddy. So you're going to have to excuse me if I take the next 2, maybe 3 weeks off, but I will be back and we will be catching mud crab in Burke Town. Now, my grandfather may be gone, but he will always be with me. And this adventure we're on, moseying around this big old beautiful country of ours, I just know Pop couldn't miss it. He'll be riding shotgun every time I turn that key and get that prop wet. So what do you reckon, old fella? I'll show you around the new whip, eh? Come on over here. Righto guys, according to the old schnozzer, our stew over here is ready. Right here we've whipped ourselves up a damper, enough garlic salt in here to keep the vampires away. Although where I'm at currently, I think I'll be more worried about the drop bears. So let's get this stew off the coals. And we'll slap our damper roll on there, eh? So if you're one of the few that enjoys tuning in and watching my shenanigans, just flick that bell and YouTube will let you know when I'm back ready to carry on like a second-hand lawnmower again. Just give me a week or 2 to come to terms with losing the greatest fishing buddy a child could ever ask for. Now don't you worry guys, we ain't going to leave you hanging. We'll show you how dinner turned out. Come with me, I'll show you. And just like that guys, dinner is served. So that's Uru for now, and I'll catch you guys on the next adventure. Uru!